1059.
Well, welcome in. That's what I was trying to get at. Welcome in here into the Bureau on this Tuesday. It's Tuesday during the middle of the day back here at home. In other parts of the world, it's different times around the clock because of all time zones and, rising and setting and sun, and because the earth is round. And that's why there's a 7-hour difference between here in Berlin, Germany, where Sven is, and he's already commented on the live stream on YouTube before the show even began that he put in a request, and he's so early he's going to get what he asked for. How about that? A Mississippi State fan living in Berlin, Germany, listening to a show in Mississippi, wanted to hear the sonic boom. There you go. So get it on in here. On this Tuesday, comment on the live stream. Hey to you. Sven and everybody on Facebook and YouTube and out there in X-Land. Shoot me a text on the Country Pleasing text line or call me on the Divinity phone. Let's see where we can go with this thing on a Tuesday. Sing along. (885-3776). That's the number to text. 885-ESPN. That'll work also. Big finish. Wow. There you go, Sven. Just for you. He commented 2 minutes before the show began on the live stream. He said, "Hey, Matt, before you even start the show, bring it on. Can I please have some boom?" Well, there you go. Request granted. A good way to start the show with a little bit of energy today. You can also call me on the Divinity phone, the Divinity Equipment phone line. The number to call is 897-1059. Got it? 897-1059. So give me a call. And again, one more time, the Country Pleasing text line. Country Pleasing sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. It's the best sausage you've ever had. And that goes for all the flavors, and there's a bunch of them. The number to text, 885-ESPN. 885-ESPN. Now check this out. Okay, I'm setting this up. This is not so much a response to Blake on my live stream. He's on YouTube. It's not so much a response to him as it is I'm setting this up for Beaver. Because I'm going to need some help from Beaver. Because he's the one who actually introduced me to Blake. And I think it was because Blake maybe listens to Jake's show in the afternoon. So, again, I get the first 2 comments I got today on the live stream before the show began came from Blake, who's a big Alabama fan. All right, Blake said, "Bring on your Bama hate, buddy. I'm just awaiting." And then he said, "I still don't give a about nothing but the Tide." Now try that on for size, grammar and everything. I'm just kidding. Sing along, Blake. Here we go. Now they did teach the Georgia Bulldogs to behave. Then he responded later after Sven, one of our most loyal listeners in Berlin, Germany, asked for one song of the Sonic Boom. Blake said he has to mute the stream during the sonic boom. So let me check in with our resident psychiatrist here on the show. Hey, B.
Hey, Matt Wyatt.
How you is on a Tuesday, huh?
I'm doing pretty good. Just, already trying to have a tenacious Tuesday.
Tenacious Tuesday. I love it. What's the deal with Blake?
I don't know.
See, I first became aware of Blake because you said that he said, this was after Alabama lost to Vanderbilt, and you said that he said that, I'm sure whatever Matt's talking about is more Bama hate. Like I go around hating on Alabama, which I pointed out and debunked with facts, not opinions, but with facts. Okay. That's not, I don't hate them. It's not Bama hate when you just point out that they lost. Now he's in here, Beef. See, I didn't have the live stream up and going yesterday when I was in the studio with you there, the home studio, the home Farm Bureau Insurance studio. So today is my first day to get to talk with the folks on the live stream, YouTube, Facebook, and elsewhere. So it kind of feels like a Monday there. And Blake comes in before the show even starts. The first thing he says is, bring on your Bama hate. I'm waiting. Like they lost to Tennessee. I picked Tennessee to win. And it has nothing to do with any emotion or liking or hating. It's just I thought that would happen. For a minute, it looked like Bama was going to win. But Tennessee wins. And I'm coming in, and just merely the idea that I will point out Alabama's deficiencies, Blake is interpreting that and is preemptively readying himself, calling it Bama hate. B, what's going on with him?
Well, let's see. I mean, there is Bama hate because we've known for years, and I don't mean just you. I'm talking about we reached the whole Bama fatigue. Yeah. Across so far, I'm talking around the country. Some years back, because they kept winning, just like the Patriots. This has been pointed out so many times. It's nothing new. Yeah. So it was Bama fatigue. Therefore, that kind of turns to hate a little bit. And as I still maintain, most, Mississippi State people, it's been so long and you can't beat Bama. So that turned into extreme hate. So that's what he speaks of. Mm-hmm. It all goes back to that.
Like, I mean, it makes sense. Because
it's also, I'm sorry.
No,
it's also, obviously it's coupled with so far not really Bama standards, obviously. So, it's causing people to get causing Bama folk to get a little more upset. Yeah, so I see it from both sides.
Yes. Okay. I can see it from both sides too. And if we're just being objective about it, Beaver, here's the thing though. And you kind of pointed it out. Well, yeah, there's been a long tradition now. And here's the key phrase: while Saban was their coach, okay, of everybody every week just rooting for Bama to lose because all they ever did was win. And everybody just kind of got tired of it. Not only your team losing to them, but everybody's team losing to them. You agree with that, B?
Yes.
Everybody was just tired of it. So there's this, while Saban was the coach, yeah, you're rooting for him to lose. You don't see him get, oh man, Bama got beat, finally. It's one of those kinds of things. I'm tired of seeing him win all the time. Okay, so sure, there's some of that. But on this show, and with me, see, here's what I would say if Blake were standing here. Blake, don't take all that bottled up stuff, and you've probably caught it from every direction as a proclaimed Bama fan these last few years. Don't take all that bottled up stuff and come and dump it on me, because it ain't coming from me, and it hasn't come from me. generally, like as much as anything else, I'm just tell it like it is on here. And for Pete's sake, back when the Vanderbilt thing happened for Bama, it wasn't like Alabama lost to Georgia, a national title contender. They lost to Vandy. I mean, again, like I said before, okay, you want to blame me for being amazed? Fine, blame me, because I'm amazed that happened. And then sort of my opinions and thoughts and feelings feel a little bit justified in that in the offseason, I'm sitting there going, I don't care who they hire after Nick Saban. I don't care if it is Kellen DeBoer. It can't possibly be the same as it was with Saban. There's one Saban. How can there only be one of the guy? He's no longer there, and you're telling me everything's going to be the same. No, it can't be. Well, guess what? It's not. It's not. And Tennessee's a pretty good team. Yeah, they struggled on offense, but Tennessee's a pretty good team. I don't hate Bama. So just like preemptively hating them. No. Preemptively coming in the show, Matt, Bama hate. No, it's not hate. It's just, welcome to our world, Alabama fans, where when your team loses, people talk about them losing. I think a lot of it is people like Blake, who are big Alabama fans, diehard and very emotional about it, are not used to what we're used to. Every now and then, we're going to lose a game and people laugh at you and point and snicker and make fun. And, it doesn't feel good, right? Well, welcome to that world, Alabama. I know it's been a while. I don't know how old Blake is. It could be the first time in his life, as far as I know, that he's having to go through that.
Now, I want to be extremely fair to Blake, though, because he did, after, he said, bring on the Bama hate last week and all that. I do remember him texting one day, and he did this during Jake's show, and he did it during your show, too, and he texted, he said, I'm just talking trash. Okay. But I encourage him, though, to see, I don't, what I didn't like there, I don't want him to try to, he's finding a middle ground, because he's like, I'm just talking trash. No, Blake. No, you stand behind your anger. You stand behind calling Matt Wyatt just an absolute Alabama hater. Whether it is real or perceived, I want you to stand by it.
Stand on it. That's a good point. Don't be budging. Don't be all big and brash and then start budging, right? Stand on your convictions. Now, this is interesting. Samuel on X, out there in Twitter land, formerly Twitter, he commented on the live stream, Beav, and he says, do we even know what Beaver looks like? He says, LOL, Hell State, though. We're improving every week. That's two different thoughts. And one, yeah, we know what Beaver looks like.
Why would anyone care? Why is that a thing?
Beav, I'm telling you, if we continue to grow and have success, they're going to want us to put a camera in there on you for the live stream. So just, you got to contemplate that. And what I have found, the biggest downside to having cameras on you, like during really at any time, but during a 2-hour radio show, is it's really hard to, like, if you need to pick your nose, it's hard to do that kind of stuff when everybody's looking at you. You got to make sure you got to keep that stuff to a minimum. Danny commented, he's on YouTube. He said, Hail State Matt from Ringgold, Georgia. The offense is there. I wonder if our problems on defense are coaching, player personnel, or a combination of both. Well, I mean, no coaching staff's perfect. They've got some things they could have done better, but it's primarily personnel and primarily in your defensive front on a defensive line. There's a few good players up there, yeah, but you don't have like all the pieces of a puzzle, like too deep at nose who are run stoppers and require combos and run blocking. Flashy, lighter, fast guy who's constantly rushing quarterbacks on the edge and is a threat to be a draft pick. And they don't have it. And when you don't have that, it's hard. It's hard to play defense against these really talented people. All right, over to the text line, the country pleasing text line. Patrick says, Matt, some of the Bama fans are upset because I saw where the family dating site is down. I can see why he's upset. Low blow? Scott, my man Scott, who played on that defensive line at Auburn back in the 90s. That was a really good football team program he was a part of. Number 54 in your program, number 1 in your heart, over on the Plains. Scott said, I'd like to know how many of your listeners that are Alabama fans grew up in Alabama or went to the university. Well, we've covered that. And as far as the growing up over there part of it, that's an interesting thing, too. All the winning really brings in a lot of fans outside of your state. Bob comments and said, and he texts the show and says, Blake sounds like the typical redneck Bama fan. And that's from Bob. Bulldog Wes says, fact is, nobody likes Bama unless they are indeed a Bama fan. Well, see, here's what I was going to do, Wes. I was going to, since Blake's just doing some trash talking, and he's given us an entire segment of radio content, and I appreciate that, Blake. And I played their fight song, but I was going to play another song for him. The thing is, though, if I do this, it's going to squarely pit not only Blake, but Beaver also against me. But I feel like it's my duty, since this is our first reaction day on the live stream for Blake and others since the games this weekend. Come on!
Wish that I was on old Rocky Top down in the Tennessee hills. Ain't no smoggy smoke on
Beav hates a banjo with a passion.
Once I had a girl on Rocky Top, half bear, the other half cat. Wild as a mink, but sweet as some.
All right, Blake, sing along.
Rocky Top, you'll always be home, sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top, Rocky Top, Tennessee.
Nick texted the show, and he said Saban wasn't even going to be the same as Saban after all this NIL nonsense. It's why he hung it up. And I agree with that, Nick. There's a lot of truth to that. Bulldog West says he's listening to this as we speak, dancing a jig.
All the folks on Rocky Top get their corn
One more
from
time,
John.
one more time.
Rocky Top, you'll always be home, sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top, Rocky Top, Tennessee.
Joe says, back to the Shula days for Bama. Yeehaw. Bodine Dog says, Matt, Nick Saban's first year at Alabama, they were 6-6 with a bowl game win. It made them 7-6. And Bodine Dog says, I can't stand Bama, but they're going to be fine with their new coach. Said the man can coach, and says our show is the best. Signed Bodine. Well, I appreciate you, Bodine. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's ups and downs. Bama's about to go through a little down here. We'll see how long and how down. There's only 2 losses this year. But there's a difference in that comparison. It's okay to bring it up because it's a true fact you brought up. That is indeed what happened to Saban. But you could really argue that the situations are very much different. Saban took over for Shula, and they were never very good. Not championship contenders year in and year out. And, very average. And Saban took over, and within 2 years, they were just dominant, had been for a decade and a half. When you say dominant, like dynasty, multiple national championships. It's unlike anything anybody ever seen, So in the situation that Saban took over, very much different than what he handed over to DeBoer. But, again, everybody, they got to go do their own job, right? Here's a better comparison. Y'all could look it up. What did LSU do under Les Miles the first year that he took over for Nick Saban at LSU? You know, Saban went to LSU and championship and kind of built similar to what he built at Alabama. He just did it over a shorter period of time before he left to go to the Dolphins, and then handed that thing off, loaded with talent, kind of like Alabama. Lots of recruiting ability and pull and sway, and they were the cool program and had won a championship. And that's what he handed off to Les Miles. What did Les Miles do with it in year one, in year two, and so on and so forth? Jason out in Flagstaff, Arizona, says, Mr. Jake said all summer that Alabama was a 4-loss team this year because of how many transfers they lost when Saban retired. It doesn't look so far-fetched. You're exactly right. And to Jake's credit, Jason, Saban himself brought that up this past weekend. They were interviewing him over on ESPN on one of their shows or something. Somebody texted me that link to that clip, and I watched it, and he said, you know, one thing about Alabama is they lost a ton of players, lost a lot of players who transferred out when I retired. And, yeah, so credit Jake. He was seeing that. He was seeing that early. All right, and then coming back over to the live stream, we come back. Rick, Hail State fan, JS290, Will, Sven, all y'all when we come back. Just getting started on this Tuesday. Stick around.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was, their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Bran. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All-Bran. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All-Bran wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal that tastes bran, the cereal that's All-Bran, a breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All-Bran wagon. Eat Kellogg's All-Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal. treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing. It's a fun thing. It's a swing wing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. It's a wing wing. A brand new transit grand fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what?
Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5. Introducing Mazda SE5 Plus 5. $625 worth of...
At thezone1059.com.
All right, here we go. Let's pick it up. On the live stream, on the feed over here, folks tuning in on Facebook and YouTube and out there in X, formerly Twitter. Let's see what we got. Rick's on Facebook. What's up, Rick? He said, why would a university fire a head coach in the middle of a season? Why would they fire Will Hall at this point? Yeah, talking about at Southern Miss, and Reed Stringer, good guy, good coach, going to take over as the interim coach there at Southern Miss. I don't know. It's always possible that there's things that we don't know, conversations, obviously, we're not privy to. So things are said. Who knows what is said and all of that. I also am not sure, Rick, what are in contracts. There's always the possibility, I don't know it, but there's the possibility you could have, a school that has already decided this is it. For sure, this is it. This is the last year. And then somebody goes, well, hey, look, if you look at the contract here, there's some incentives built in there for him. And if he keeps coaching, he could, even though we're still going to fire at the end of the year, make a change. If you win this many conference games, we're going to owe him. That costs us another $100,000 here or there. Now, maybe that's crazy because generally firing somebody involves you buying out their contract anyway. So maybe there's financial mitigation involved in doing it middle of the year versus the end when you already know. Again, I don't know the details of the contracts. I'm just saying it's possible. But I've always kind of felt, Rick, like it was more of an optics thing than anything. And so to that end, there's a difference between perception and reality. We're out here doing things because of perception. The way it's perceived, that's not a good way to do things. So I don't know. I don't know what you accomplish. Maybe it's if you got an administrator or other people who feel like players just have quit on a coach and they ain't going to play for him, and that doing it now, the games you do have left, they'll play harder. Well, if you're convinced of that, then yeah, okay, go ahead. But I've always questioned it too, kind of like you. Hail State fan comments on YouTube and says, talent on our lines is our greatest concern. I do have questions about our defensive schemes at times, but I cannot be convinced that lack of top-tier talent is the real issue, and I think it is. I was playing the Alabama fight song. He told me that's enough of that crap. That's from a Hail State fan. Sven said, you know what, guys, our defense played better last week. I really believe this. They did. They did play better. You give up over 600 yards of offense to Georgia the week before, right? 450 yards passing or whatever it was. And you give up fewer yards this week. Trying to think. 2 turnovers. Well, I guess so the same number of turnovers caused this week as last, but still you create some turnovers. played a little better. But honestly, the defense has been in a position where there's nowhere to go but up for the most part this year. And this is a huge part. It's like an if. And again, in my experience over the years, we talk about these kinds of things more when your team's losing and is at a talent disadvantage across the board. And so you need every little thing to go your way. And so these things stand out more when you're in that position. So Sven says, if we don't drop 2 interceptions, we win the game. Well, but see, here's the thing, Sven, that I remember they were both on the same drive. And the second one is the one where they're throwing it underneath, like out route to the sideline or hitch to the sideline. Ellington jumps it, hits him in the belly. He catches it. He could have backpedaled into the end zone the other way and State would take a lead in the second half. The game has a different looking paint job on it. And you're right, it's a huge if. But again, you lose a 10-point game at home. It's part of a long losing streak in a year where you're playing all these top 15 and top 10 teams and they all have a talent advantage. Those kinds of things stand out more because we know they have to go our way to win. And when they don't go our way, you can't sleep at night because of them, right? What's up, Will? Gave me a happy Tuesday. Same to you. Thanks for being here. JS290, pointing it out. This year's MSU team, not good enough to get pick sixes and scooping scores yet. Well, man, they were so close too. Hail State fan had a typo. He meant Bama fans, but it changed it to Batman fans. Still whining about the 83 Penn State game. Got to beat your opponent so the outcome isn't left up to the referees. Well, that's absolutely for sure. Sven went on and said that if State were to play Toledo now, they would win, and he's sure of it. How do y'all feel about that? I'm telling you, it was when State played Toledo and lost the game the way they did. When it was over, I was convinced. And I think I may have even told Bart and Charlie in the postgame. Sad fact of the matter is if Toledo played State 10 times, they beat them 10 times because that's the way it looked that day. And I agree with you. Like, State has looked so much better since then. After the Florida game, they have looked like a different team, especially offensively. Will bringing up the ill-advised fake punt. It led to a short field possession for A&M. Yeah. But again, I get it. When the game ends up a 10-point game, that is really glaring. But I also understand, look, you got to try something. Because, Levy knows typically running your defense back out there over and over again is not going to lead to the results you want. But Sven, to comment on it, said that was mind-blowing. Levy is a first-year head coach, and the team's going to learn from it. Yeah. Now, JS290 disagrees with them on the fake punt. He says the fake punt was a good gamble. He says the crappy run up the middle in the fourth quarter on third and fourth down, third and fourth and short were horrible. Yeah, back-to-back times. But again, the thing about that is, I guess you could argue that there were, State's rushing average, so 36 carries, 125 yards as a team, and averaging 3.5 yards a carry. Booth averaging over 6. He had a 40-yard run. That the 40-yard run and the 25-yard run by Daniels were skewing the average and that sort of thing, and lulled everybody into thinking, okay, we're less than a yard away. We're going to hand this off twice and just bust him in the mouth and push it forward. And you have to be able to do that in an offense, and just couldn't do it. How about that? Now, I didn't know this. Hail State fan says, congrats to Avery Weed. MSU golfer shoots a 61 to tie an NCAA record. I did not know that. 61 where? 61 what? Golf shots? That is on fire. Absolutely on fire. All right, he's here to get his roses and flowers, and he should. And now, he's not talking about it yet, but Blind Squirrel said, well, allegedly I was wrong about that one. Thanks a lot, Alabama. Yeah, you were wrong about the Tennessee-Alabama game, but you were right about Georgia and Texas. If I remember correctly, you said you thought Georgia was going to beat Texas 31-30. I said, either way, if we get a 31-30 game in there, it'll be an all-time classic, game of the year, regardless of what happens the rest of the year. You didn't quite get that, but you did get the Georgia win at Texas. I actually picked Texas to win. I thought they were the better team. And, man, Georgia just chewed them up and spit them out early in that game. Playing faster and more physical. Texas's offense looked shocked by how fast and physical Georgia was. So there you go. And that's something I didn't even really touch on yesterday, but everybody was touching on over the weekend, Blind Squirrel. And that is, hey, Texas, hey, Oklahoma, welcome to the SEC. This is what we've been talking about. Is week to week is the tough part of the SEC. Yeah, I mean, it's in some ways has been top heavy. Yeah, the Big 12 that you were in some ways was top heavy. But it's the collective week to week that you go through this gauntlet of the SEC that, you play this one and you go on the road to Auburn if you're Oklahoma and you pick up a win, and then you play this one and you come back home and it's South Carolina, and man, they embarrass you. That's what happens in this league. And it shines a light even more on what Saban did all those years at Alabama and how rare those kinds of things were for his teams. It's that much more impressive. Yeah, so congrats to Georgia on the win. All right, more of your comments, more of your texts coming up. Stick around.
Wished for one product that would clean and shine almost everything in your house? Here it is. Clean and Shine. Like magic, Clean and Shine leaves a nice shine on fine wood furniture, so you don't need furniture polish. It cleans and shines mirrors, so you don't need glass cleaner for mirrors. It cleans and shines refrigerators, like this kitchen product. Even countertops, tile, and vinyl. Try new Clean and Shine, the foam that cleans and shines almost everything in your house.
Someday when people look at me, they'll say, there goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was.
TriStar Pictures presents Robert Redford in The Natural, the story of a father and a son.
You got a gift, Roy, but it's not enough.
Of love.
He means the world to me.
And desire.
I'm not waiting for true love to come along, Roy.
A champion.
Roy Hobbs comes along once, maybe twice in everybody's lifetime.
And his destiny.
With or without the records, they'll remember you.
Best there is now, and best there ever will be.
I wouldn't bet against me.
I already have.
Robert Redford, Robert Duvall, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger, Wilford Brimley, Barbara Hershey, Robert Prosky, and Richard Farnsworth as Red. The Natural.
Do you know me? Would you believe I'm Bugs Bunny? I'm also the voice of many other cartoon characters. But in here, they don't care if I'm Elmer Fudd. So I carry an American Express card, the one card I need for travel and entertaining, for business and pleasure. Why, without this, the only way I'd get any attention is by saying, that's all, folks.
To apply apply for a card, call 800-528-8000.
The American Express card. Don't leave home without it.
The following is a presentation of TBS Sports. Exclusively on Superstation TBS. Superstation TBS presents the Atlanta Braves, America's team. Atlanta Braves baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. This Bud's for you. By the official airline of the Atlanta Braves, Delta. We love to fly, and it shows. And by Eckerd Drugs, America's family drugstore.
If a man you've never met before suddenly gives you flowers, that's elation. The exciting new fragrance from Impulse.
Thursday, it's Cosby starting off a night of family fun. And leave it to Family Ties to keep the laughs coming.
Oh, no. What are we going to do? Everything's under control.
Then on Cheers, will Norm fink on a friend to get a promotion?
Yeah, yes, yes.
And the fun continues with Night Court.
I'm here to strip for Dan Fielding.
Thursday.
Oh, what a meal, oh.
Hamburger Helper Lasagna.
For your family.
Authentic Italian taste.
Hearty Robusto. But not too spicy, eh?
Hamburger Helper Lasagna turns your plain hamburger into a delicious Italian meal with authentic Italian taste. Curly Italian noodles, rich tomato sauce.
You're going to hear about them all and get to talk about it with Matt Wyatt right here, right now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right, back with you in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance, go with the home team. Dog tired in Florence, says Matt. When are you going to do another remote at Country Pleasing? Just got the big hog brisket sandwich with from the lunch deli. Man, that sounds good. Is it really big? What'd you get it with? What are your sides if you're like Dog Tired in Florence and you get a big hog brisket sandwich? What sides you get, Dog Tired? Man, we need to do that again, don't we? You know, as I said, I don't know if they need it. I just know we need it. We need it. We need to make that happen. Let's call Henry and see if we can pull that off. Hill Dog texts the show, says, from my untrained eyes, third down conversions really hurt. I was commenting, throughout the game as their third down conversions were piling up, Hill Dog, that I hadn't seen too many games my whole life where you had that kind of stat happening. In the first half, in the first half, Texas A&M was 6 out of 7 on third down. In the second half, State did a better job. They were just 3 of 7. See, most of that's because they went 0-3 on third down conversions in the fourth quarter. They were 3 out of 4 on third downs in the third quarter. So if you look at the first 3 quarters of the ball game, like we said yesterday, they were 9 for 11 on third down when you tipped over into the fourth quarter, which just shows you defensively. It's wild. There's some things that are so bad, it's wild. And so therefore, some other things that they're actually doing pretty good, it's even more impressive to me that they're getting that out of them. It's almost like because of some personnel issues, it's almost like they're having to, pick their poison, certain situations. In third and longs even. What was that number here? Let me show you this. Okay, third down efficiency. So as I said, they ended the game 9 of 14, but they started 9 of 11. Okay, on third down. But get this, 14 third down attempts. Their average distance to go on third down was 7 yards. So defensively, a good bit in the game, you were able to put them in third and long. They just kept converting them. And, you know, again, there was a few of those that the way they converted those thirds and really longs was what? State's playing coverage. You're rushing 3, maybe 4, but dude can sit back there just as long as he needs to. Wait, move around, wait. Okay, there we go. Running back, hit him. He goes and makes the first. Third and longs, which is 9 yards or more, they were 50%, 2 out of 4. Here's another one. Throwing the football on third down in that game. On third down passing attempts, A&M was 7 of 8 for 132 yards. I mean, it's like a whole game worth of passing just on third downs. And again, there's pass rush. Third and longs, third and medium, obvious passing situation, especially on third and longs. You had 4 of those. And you just, no pass rush. I mean, you just can't get a pass rush. Not without bringing people. And if you bring people, it means you got less people in coverage, and there's more of a chance they hit a big play, because then if they do complete it, there's less people back there to make a tackle. You know, all that kind of stuff. They're having to pick their poison. Where do we choose? We are vulnerable is basically what Hutzler, because of personnel and certainly the lack of it on the defensive front, what Hutzler's having to do is go like this. We are vulnerable. On this particular play, where do we choose to be the most vulnerable? And then roll with it. And, you know, play some bend, don't break and all that kind of stuff. Airborne Dog, he texts the show, says, how about Army and Navy both being undefeated and ranked? I mean, isn't that cool? He says it's going to be an outstanding Army-Navy game. Never forget, every man playing has pledged his life for every person watching. And then he signed it, Go Army, beat Navy. You're exactly right. And we talked about that yesterday. It's easy to get behind it too, isn't it? Because, I mean, really, how many of those guys are raking in the pay-for-play cash? I mean, seriously. Army, Navy, both ranked, both undefeated. And you got some high school kids out here making more pay-for-play cash than those guys in Army and Navy are. Right. So just saying, it's easy to understand, easy to pull for them. Okay, here are the sides that Dog Tired got with his Big Hog brisket sandwich from Country Meat Packers, Highway 49 in Florence, Mississippi. He got baked beans and tater salad. He said the meat that fell off the sandwich got mixed in with the beans. Bring it on, Dog Tired. That sounds great. Somebody said, hey, Matt, random question. What do you think it would take to bring back the interlocking MSU permanently? Yeah, like, what would it take to get it done? I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, I can say I'm for it, but what would it take to actually make it happen? I just don't know. I don't understand the issue with it to begin with. So I don't know what to overcome. There's obviously something that needs to be overcome. I don't know what it is because I don't understand what's the problem with it to begin with or ever has been. Because all this stuff that was historically fed to us about it belonged to Nike, and when the state was not Nike anymore, they couldn't use. That was all a lie. Not true. Not true at all. Millwood texts the show, and he says, Matt, in my personal opinion, Mississippi State's issues on defense, 35% defensive coordinator lack of experience, 35% lack of talent, 30% lack of depth on the defensive line. And then says, Lebby will right the ship, and I firmly believe that. The experience part of it is a big thing. Certainly. I mean, it is a big part of it. Again, I go back to that sequence just before halftime at Texas in a one-score game, and I think there's some experience or lack thereof kind of rearing its head, but that's the thing that a lack of experience has always done. It's always reared its head at some point, and like Kroom said, the experience is the one thing you can't hurry up. Look at this. White Denzel just texted me a picture of Dan Mullen coaching, and somebody photoshopped him in Southern Miss gear, saying Mullen to Southern Miss. What do you think? Go down there and recreate some magic? He might do it. You never know. Blake texts the show, says, oh, I see what you mean, Blake. I see what you mean. When I was describing what Dog Tire got for lunch, the big hog brisket sandwich, baked beans, and tater salad, and Blake just texted in and says, man, you don't want to be in a truck with him. Yeah, boy. I'm picking up what you're putting down, Blake. Flowtown Ghost. Look at this man here at lunch, cooking deer burgers for quick lunches so he can heat them up and eat them. Right now, you got the day off, Ghost? That looks good. Flipping those deer burgers. Jonathan says, did Hattiesburg get a target? All right, listen. Why would you ask me that? Hey, I'm going to need some help here, Beef. Why would Jonathan text me and ask me if Hattiesburg got a target?
I don't even know what that means, honestly. What are we talking about here?
I don't know. Jonathan texted and said, did Hattiesburg get a target?
Oh, Target store.
Yeah, like the store.
Okay.
Okay.
I have no idea.
All right, the homecoming queen walked by. She has a theory. She wonders if maybe Target sells country pleasing. I can't figure it out. Oh! He said you were talking about Mullen to USM. Okay, I get it. But now what does Target have to do with that, though? Help me out, Jonathan. Just lead me down the path. Spell it out for me. I'm the slow one in this, not you. Does Hattiesburg have a target? We're talking about Mullen to Southern Miss, but now what does Target have to do with it? I just need help. That's all. I'm slow. I'll admit it. I'm slow but steady. I'll hang in there with you until we get on the same page. I'm Matt. Beaver's here. Thank goodness y'all are here. Hour 2 coming up. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Back after this.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area, the blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need me, it's going to be after 5. It hardly ever happens where you have a wreck, get pulled over, need an insurance card, wind blows, shingles off your roof. All these things happen, and it's typically after 5. And so the ability for someone to call me, get in contact with me, text me, ask me a question, and that's what it's about to me, is helping the people that we serve, is taking care of people, and them knowing that they can count on me whenever they need me. I am Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. I say they do quality stuff. They really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. MurrayWest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
Turned into achievements on the biggest stage. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. member FDIC.
It's football season, and Uber Eats is dropping undefeated deals on all your game day favorites. This week, score buy one, get one free spicy chicken sandwiches from Wendy's, only on Uber Eats. Craving even more? We've got you covered with game day deals on pizza, burgers, tacos, and more all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms, taxes, and fees apply. See app for details.
Thursday, it's Cosby starting off a night of family fun. And leave it to family ties to keep the laughs coming.
Oh, no. What are we going to do? Everything's under control.
Then on Cheers, will Norm think on a friend to get a promotion?
Yeah, yes, yes.
And the fun continues with Night Court. Thursday.
For over half a century, dairymen have tried to capture in cans the flavor of pure, fresh milk. And now Foremost has discovered the secret with an evaporated milk that's closest by far to fresh milk itself.
Kind of hard to believe, isn't it? An evaporated milk that doesn't have that old-fashioned evaporated milk taste. But it's true, and you can prove it. You know how most evaporated milks taste in coffee. The flavor goes flat. But try Foremost. You'll see it's white, the way milk ought to look, not drab tan like other brands. And when you taste it, well, if you're anything like me, you'll never even know it isn't pure, fresh cream. You try it and see. That's Foremost, the closest thing in can.
On 105.9 and worldwide.
Now, here we go.
At the Zone, 1059.com.
All right. And away we go. Hour number 2 of the show on this Tuesday, off and running with you. And we may have come down to the bottom of it. And I'm finally getting the joke and why Jonathan was referencing Hattiesburg and Target. More on that coming up. And I'm sure most people listening don't need an explanation, but I did, and now I get it. You can be a part of the show, just like Jonathan and everybody else. You can text or call or comment if you're on the live stream. Hey to you. Facebook, YouTube, out there in X land, just post a comment. When you do, it pops up on my screen here. Nice, neat column. And I can pop it up on the screen and everybody can see it. So get on in here that way. You can text me on the Country Pleasin' text line. Country Pleasin' Sausage. Comes from Country Meat Packers on Highway 49, Florence, Mississippi, where Dog Tired in Florence got himself a lunch today of a big hog brisket sandwich, side of baked beans and tater salad. You can call me on the Davini phone. Davini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson. You're a Kubota dealer. They are the oldest Kubota dealer in the U.S., in fact. So it means they've been doing it better, longer than anyone else right here at home at Davini. Number to call is 897-1059. That's a 601 number, 897-1059. All right, see, yeah, he explained it. And Jonathan apologized. He said, sorry, the joke didn't land. What it was, White Denzel Texas shows a picture of Dan Mullen photoshopped to make it look like he was the Southern Miss coach. Now that they have an opening. And we're like, oh, yeah, Dan to Southern Miss? Well, Jonathan said, did Hattiesburg get a target? And I was like, I couldn't figure out. And then he said, you were talking about Mullen. And I was like, okay, Mullen to USM, Hattiesburg, what does Target have to do with it? And so he had to explain it to me. And he says, wasn't it a joke that one reason Mullen left Starkville was because Mrs. Mullen didn't like the small town? Megan said something like, Starkville doesn't even have a Target. Well, if she did, I wasn't aware of it. Maybe that's a big deal. Maybe having or not having a Target is a big deal for some people. I've been inside of a Target, I think 3 times. Okay, 4 times. Once was in Prattville, Alabama, out by the Robert Trent Jones golf course, and Anna Beth wanted to go in there for something. It was like holiday shopping years ago when my mother still lived in Prattville. The second time I went, I was with my dad, and we were in Dothan, Alabama, and he needed to go in there for something for somebody else. So I followed him in there. The third time and the fourth time, I was with Mary Liddy and Annabeth, and they wanted stuff. So I'm tagging along with them. The last time was in, Red Round. Up north of Austin, where we were a few weeks ago, where we stayed in the team hotel north of Austin, Texas. We didn't stay in Austin for the Texas game. It's like Round Rock or Big Rock or Flat Rock or Red Rock or something. Anyway, that town, they had a Target, and Mary Liddy needed something in there for school, something she wanted for school. That's the 4th time I've been in a Target. I want to know how many times Beaver's been to Target. Let me check in on Beaver. Beaver!
About what?
You like going to Target?
I've been there a bunch in my lifetime.
Okay.
Let's see. I went to one back in the summer, though, when I was trying to locate a PS5. And I went, and that was the first time I had been to a Target in so long. And it actually brought back a lot of memories because it smells the same it did 16 years ago.
Wow. So you associate places and experiences with smells too.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes they're hard to ignore.
Yeah.
And Target is a place that it's hard to ignore the smell.
Well, can I submit?
And I'm not saying it's a bad smell. I'm just saying it's the same as it was from 16 years ago.
Okay. I'm with you on that. Certain places have a certain smell. Not necessarily bad. Beav, like growing up when I was a kid, we'd go to the mall and we go to Sears and JCPenney. It had a certain smell in the mall. The Targets that I've been to, 4 of them, you can always smell coffee in there because they have Starbucks coffee places inside those places. That's one thing I associate with it. Is having or not having a Target a big deal, Bieber?
I wouldn't say so. Target's not what it used to be.
Okay. Well, Jonathan says that there was a rumor that Megan Mullins said Starkville doesn't even have a Target. Well, but how many Walmarts do they have? 1. Okay. You know, Tupelo's got like 2.5 Walmarts, Beav, and getting a Target also.
Well, first off, what's half a Walmart?
Oh, the little small Walmart market thing where the building is trimmed in not blue like regular Walmart's, trimmed in green. And you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, there's this. I think it's called Market. Let me look it up here. Hang on a second. I think it's called.
Yeah. Walmart Market. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember back when I was in Dallas many years ago?
Yeah.
I was blown away because it was a tiny Walmart.
Yeah. That's what so I call it a half a Walmart. So Tupelo has 2 regular Walmarts, and recent years they got that Walmart Market. It's green, smaller, and so I say Tupelo has 2.5 Walmarts, and they're getting a Target. Is what I'm saying on top of it.
Mm-hmm. Big things happening.
The biggest thing that's happening in Tupelo is this Friday night, the number 1 ranked Tupelo Golden Wave in the biggest classification in the state are hosting the red hot Clinton Arrows. Clinton, yeah, the same ones that put up 60-something on Brandon, the same ones that just beat Starkville, they're going to Tupelo this Friday night. That's the biggest thing happening in Tupelo. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, Matt, why I have you here?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
So, we've never talked about this, but have you ever spoken of doing any coaching? I know this is random, but
yeah. Well, not seriously to the point of maybe making a step or 2 into it. Of course, let me give you the shortest answer to give you the best answer possible, Beaver, because if you're not careful, I'll be long-winded. When I went to college, my first semester there, I was a coaching major, thinking I wanted to coach, and after 1 semester, I changed it. I didn't want to do it. And then after college, I had one time where I was working in sports information at a junior college, and so I had a chance to help the football team and even work with them some, and I coach the quarterbacks, for some off-season stuff. And like during the season, I got to sit in the press box and wear a headset and like try to help out. And it was great and everything and wonderful, but I never did get the bug and go, okay, I'm switching careers. I'm going to get into coaching. Just haven't done it. Why do you ask?
Because about 10 minutes ago, during the end of the hour break, Donnie from Byram, he had called and he wanted me to mention that him and as he referred to him, me and 5 other old guys, said they're sitting around in Byram and they're all drinking coffee and they were having a conversation that they thought you should put your name in the hat for the Southern Miss coaching job.
Well, okay, here's how I would address that, Beeb. Because sometimes I don't want to like pretend that they're joking, because if they're not joking, then it could be offensive if I assume they're joking. Does that make sense at all? And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So anytime somebody has that thought, flattered, thanks. I do. I appreciate it. Flattered and appreciate the positive, kind words. But Beav, we all should understand something. And this is not at all me talking down to your friends and the folks in Byram or anywhere else. Because I actually, even going on, not quite, but going on, 16, 17 years ago, a similar thing came up when I was a young guy. And again, at that time, it was a junior college. Here's what we got to understand. There is a tremendous gap, knowledge gap, experience gap, everything between someone like me who played some football, understands it from an X's and O's standpoint, and can, voice it, verbalize it, versus someone who is a professional coach and has decided this is my career, this is what I do for a living. I am a coach, and has experience and has coached at different levels, started out as a GA. They had years where they got paid $10,000 or $12,000 a whole year to coach, and they were eating peanut butter crackers for every meal, and then they worked their way up and they coach a position in their high school, or they work their way up and they're coaching in college, and they're an assistant, or they're a long time, let's say, defensive assistant or offensive assistant at that level, and they've been doing it for 15 or 20 years. The gap between those guys and, frankly, someone like me, it's a huge gap. And I'm not saying it's closed off to people like me getting into it, because it's not. It's just that there's no such thing as someone like me without the experience of actually being on coaching staffs and actually cutting my teeth, clipping out film and sitting in a million different meetings and, as a GA while the offensive line coach, coaches his player. There's so much that goes into it, that all those years of experience to get into it, you cannot make that up just by being smart or something. Does that make sense? So that's what I would say. And I think for someone like me, the reality is, Beav, if my goal, even at my age right now, and I'm not all that old, but even right now, if I woke up tomorrow and my goal was to make $1 million, that was just the goal, period, then I'd quit this right now. We'd sell what we have and go pick up a GA job somewhere or something, some low-paying thing, and we'd scratch it out and struggle as a family. I'd get into it and try to work my way up. Maybe by the time I'm 60, I'd be a head coach somewhere, and guess what? I'd make $1 million. If that was my goal, I could do it. I could get into it and work my way into it, because I have maybe the most basic requirement to at least start to try to get into that profession. But it would take years of scratching and clawing and grinding away at coaching jobs in the corner cubicle of offices to get the experience and the knowledge that it takes to actually be an applicant for a job like that. And so I ain't gonna do it. and certainly not just on a personal level, certainly not in the NIL era. And I mean that in all sincerity. There just is not an amount of money that somebody could throw at me to get me to go into that profession to deal with that stuff on a daily basis. There's no amount of money. And I know that sounds crazy. And I am crazy when it comes to that kind of stuff, because, somebody gave you that opportunity and it was life-changing money. To turn it down would be, in most people's eyes, nuts. Well, I would turn it down because I ain't doing it. There's just no amount of money to, frankly, whatever time I have left to spend it doing that. So But thanks. I appreciate it. But talking about it and analyzing it is a whole different ballgame than actually coaching it. So I have huge respect. High school, JUCO, small college, D3, D2, D1 coaches who they spend their life and career grinding to be in a position to get those big coaching jobs, because what people don't see is that, unfortunately, they've spent 15 or 20 years away from their family for most of the hours of their life. And so they're the ones that deserves those opportunities, not people like me who think we're smart enough just to step on in there. Hunter texts the show, and he says, hey, Matt, can we talk about State's injury report, Arkansas's DBs, and how State needs to stop the run? Okay. He says, I say DBs because I'm hoping we can run the ball on them. Well, I'll tell you this, Hunter. To beat them, you're going to have to run the ball on them. They got good pass rush, too, at Arkansas. A little more experience. Certainly, more continuity, head coach and the like in their program. I know they have some new coordinators. But there's a lot of experience in there, too. Players and coaches. So their program's different than State's is right now. That's why I said yesterday, certainly on paper, but in a lot of other ways too, Arkansas should win the game. It doesn't mean they will. So for State to do it, you can't be one-dimensional on offense against a team like Arkansas. You must be able to go into their teeth with your run game and run it successfully the way State did against Texas and the way they did this past week against Texas A&M. And, 1 week to the next, it didn't always carry over, but watching State run the ball with the success they did have against A&M, who A&M's front, man, I was so impressed with them. I was looking at them before the game down there, down low, and, man, they are exactly like what you're looking for, prototypical, and they are good. And State ran it at them some. And so you would think if you could do that against them, you have a good day and execute, you can maybe do it some against Arkansas. Injury report. See, I don't know about Craver. I think that's a big one. And I know he's just a true freshman, but Craver is the guy who, because of the top end, when he's involved, a defense arranges their game plan and arranges sort of their call sheet accordingly when he's in certain spots and you're in certain spots on the field, because they know he will get behind us. So we got to do this, and so you can kind of almost predict what they're going to do in certain situations because you have a guy that can run right by him, and they know it, you know it, everybody knows it. So if Craver's not out there, it changes it a little bit. And the way he went out, I don't know the details. I don't have a report on it. I just know the way he went out and then didn't come back in the game usually doesn't bode well for just jumping right back out there and being full speed the next week. Hill Dog text. I know I'm going slow, but we got plenty of time here, hour 2. I'll get to your text. Hill Dog says maybe if we could have stopped even half of those third down conversions in the first half, we would have given the offense 3 or 4 more shots. Different score at halftime, I believe. Says, I love Levy. I think we got the right guy. Well, look, I'm going to tell you, Levy and the staff have done a good job. Because sometimes it's also not just about doing a good job with, this play call or this design or this, scheme. It's also about doing a good job between the ears of all your players. And you can tell they got a freshman quarterback who has thrown more touchdowns in the month of October than any other quarterback in the SEC, and he didn't play bad teams. He played really good teams, the best teams in the country, and 2 out of 3 of them on the road, and still has thrown more touchdowns in the month of October than any other quarterback in the SEC, and he's a true freshman and got a true freshman tackle playing half the snaps. So they have pulled it together and have gotten better each week, and they have good plans, and the players are playing their guts out for them, regardless of the score. Down big at Georgia, they just keep fighting and playing their tails off in the second half. make it interesting. You know, all those things are signed too, that staff's doing a good job. Now, let's pause and say the point is to win. And I was really tickled to see what Coach Levy said, because he got a layup. Somebody put a question on the tee for him and said, you know, what do you feel about, you know, your improvement and all this? He goes, yeah, I mean, I'm glad we have improved. He said, but we got to improve and start winning. You know, the point is to win the game. You know, Sven, right off the top of the show today, one of the first things that Sven commented when he came in here was, Hail State, everyone. Well, good effort. We blew it on our own. We should have won this game by at least one touchdown. See, it's funny to think about how far gone we all were mentally after we watched those the week 2, week 3, week 4, because I was like, man, it's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. To have the effort and the play on the field enough to have us start thinking, hey, listen, man, stop shooting yourself in the foot. You may win the ball again. That's a big travel we've gone on right there. And frankly, that's where you got to be. So I think the mindset is there. I think the work is there. The question now is the patience there in the middle of all that? It's kind of an interesting juxtaposition of urgency and patience all at the same time. All right, rolling along. Hour 2, more texts on the Country Pleasing text line coming up. Stick around.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Bran. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All-Bran. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All-Bran wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal, the taste brand, the cereal that's All-Bran. A breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All-Bran wagon. Eat Kellogg's All-Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing. It's a fun thing. It's a swing wing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. It's a wing wing. A brand new transgrand fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what? Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the 67.
1059 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right, back with you. I'm Matt. Rolling along, hour 2. Good stuff. I'm enjoying this show today. Are y'all enjoying it? I'm enjoying it. Part of the reason part of the reason I'm enjoying this show is because y'all are here. It's like getting to talk to you. You know, your comments coming in on the live stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, text messages coming in. Many of you I've gotten to know personally. Not everybody, but many. So that's part. The other part of the reasons I have plenty of hot coffee in my good old-fashioned thermos. Hey, Rick. Rick, you know who you are on Facebook. About that thermos that you have, he told me he's got one of the originals because on the bottom of it, it says manufactured in Nashville, Tennessee before it went to China. I think that one was from China, and it's pretty good. But Rick, on Facebook, Rick, you know who you are. Name your price. I want it. He said it's still got the handle on it and everything. Okay, Sven on YouTube says Dan Mullen won wherever he went. He's going to wait on one big-time offer. That's what I believe, and someone's going to call him up eventually. Now, Jared says they have a target, and I guess he's talking about Hattiesburg because Melissa, who, by the way, just celebrated a birthday recently, her 29th birthday, the anniversary of her 29th birthday. Love y'all, Melissa. Slap Matt in the back of the head for me. Melissa said Hattiesburg has had a target for years. So, hey, Hattiesburg's a great town. I like Hattiesburg. My man Robert St. John there, he's got 15, 16 restaurants, and they're all good. They got a zoo, college campus, good high schools. Had his highway going. It's close to New Orleans, close to the coast. Close to the coast. Hattiesburg's a great place. Will comments on YouTube, says, I'm sure people have reached out to Dan in the years since Florida. Maybe he'll go back to coaching one day for the right job. Not sure, though. I mean, he's got it licked right now, right? Getting a buyout from Florida and getting paid by ESPN, playing golf with his son, watching him play basketball, hanging out, being a family man. Because like I said, you know, he's one of these guys. Started his coaching career early on and, you know, young guy right out of college and became a 37-year-old head coach in the SEC. And he's got a young son, and then they had a daughter, and then he goes to Florida. And so you're talking about a couple of decades of just, frankly, the huge majority of the hours in his life were spent with the football team and in the building and not necessarily with Megan and family. And so maybe now's an opportunity to make up on that and do what Saban's doing and not have to deal with all the you-know-what that is pay for play and transfer portal and all that. They're like, you know, we got millions of dollars in the bank, time with family, do TV. Let somebody else deal with those headaches. Because, buddy, make no mistake, it's a headache. who knows? Maybe that's how he feels. Most of those guys are so competitive that eventually they want to get back in it. You know, and that's understandable too. It's like talking about smells earlier with Beaver, the smell of target, the smell of the practice field, you know, and August hits. And right now I can drive around the state in August and roll the windows down and I smell cut grass and I start thinking about football practice. And it's like, oh man, maybe I need to be out there doing something. Hail State fan text says Navy plays Notre Dame this week and Army has a bye. Corey says, why did Van Buren not start sooner? Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. He was a true freshman out of high school, and Blake Shapen was a transfer in with experience. He was actually playing pretty well, you know, on a bad team, but Shapen was playing pretty well. He was actually probably the best player on your team in those early games was Blake Shapen. He was playing well. And had he not gotten hurt, Van Buren would not be on the field. That's for sure. But he was actually playing pretty well. More of your comments coming up on the live stream in just a bit. Let me jump back over to the country pleasing text line. David in Madison said, I refuse to shop at Target. They have gone the wokest of all the major retailers. There you go. He ain't going. Beaver and I were debating the words. There's awakened, awake. There's awoke. But we couldn't figure out if awakened, like past tense, needed an ED on the end of it or not. We didn't know. Oh, yeah. Hey, Beav, Airborne Dog talking about smells that stick with you. He just wrote one word. Abercrombie. You familiar?
Man, I can't remember the exact smell, but Abercrombie does seem like a store that would have had a smell.
Well, they do. And, buddy, I got a nose full of it 2 or 3 different times, and it's like, you know, somebody, you realize that's what it is, you never forget it. People went berserk. By the way, that's another. Hey, yeah, Beav, let's save that topic for a. Then you gotta get the batteries in here.
Really, Bill?
Hey, Bill, zip it. Bill, we're trying to do a show. What batteries was he talking about?
I don't know.
Something needs batteries. I know that.
Some
you don't want
D batteries.
You don't want to know. Bill said you don't want to know. No, Beav, save it for a summer topic. We're going to do perfume and cologne etiquette. Okay? You know, the right way and the wrong way. Not that I would really know. MSU 1980 texts the show, and he says, Matt, Starkville has both a super Walmart and a market Walmart. What about just plain old Walmart? No, I got a super Walmart. What's so great about it? I don't know, but it's super. Real C texts the show and says, I'm proud to hear Matt speak highly of my arrows. Beav and the boys talk down in regards to Clinton. What?
Now. When did Real C become Brando with these lies?
I mean, I've never known Real C to tell lies.
Ugh. Real C, the one who's texted several disparaging remarks about Pearl, is going to say that I talk about his town? I wouldn't talk about Uncle Bill's a Clinton man.
Hey, here's what I don't know, Beaver. I'm not as familiar with the coaching change and who the people are and stuff at Clinton this year, but what that group, talking about coaches earlier, what they have done in their first year at Clinton is downright impressive, buddy. I mean, you talk about total turnaround. It is impressive. Real C said, the best way to screw up public perception of one's knowledge of sports is to become a coach. 100%. 100% true, Real C, because let me tell you something. Like, for example, film study or doing X's and O's and stuff. You take a guy like Will Hall. Will Hall, because of his experience as a coach, Will Hall has forgotten more X's and O's than I know. Okay, if I want to learn X's and O's, I would go to a class taught by Will Hall. That's the honest truth. Exaggeration, okay? Okay, and he just got fired as the head coach. So that's another thing from perception standpoint. It's one thing to analyze and talk through it with no pressure on us. It's another thing to go in there and you have to know things so perfectly that there are no frayed edges to your knowledge of a scheme or a play or how to do it. And it all must then be implemented with 11 different guys on a field from all different corners of the earth, anywhere from 19 to 22 years old. I mean, well, and that's college. If I were going to get into coaching, I would absolutely get into it in high school because I think that's the most fun. I think high school is the most fun level of football. That's what I think. That would be my strong opinion. Now, they don't pay you as much in high school. That's part of the reason it's more fun, if we're being real. Scott said Reed Stringer took over as interim coach for Southern Miss. He is from Canton, was on Sylvester Croom's staff. That's right. That's right. Reed was on the Croom staff, 20 years ago at State. And Reed's a heck of a coach, too. You talk about experience. He's got a wealth of it. I got somebody else that believes in me. Somebody said, good afternoon, Beeve. Tell Matt if Coach Prime can do it, he can do it too. You're right. And maybe I don't have the confidence or the or the nest egg to fall back on that Prime did and does, huh? Maybe that's it. I enjoy being around my family too much to be going and not being around them. All right, a little bit of time left with you when we come back. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Stick around.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Bran. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All-Bran. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All-Bran wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal that tastes bran, the cereal that's All-Bran, a breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All-Bran wagon. Eat Kellogg's All-Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing. It's a fun thing. It's a swing wing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. It's a wing wing. A brand new transit grand fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what? Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5. Introducing Mazda SE5 Plus.
Right now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Back with you, I'm Matt. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Let me get into a couple things here. Jared comments on Facebook and says, speaking of throwing millions around, I wonder if Levy and Selman are watching Aranda's fall from head coach at Baylor and readying the net to catch him. Yeah, who knows? Some of that's going to be, relationship stuff. Beginning of the year, they, probably Levy and Hutzler both as a staff would probably admit that they didn't do a very good job of having them ready to play some early in the year. But, buddy, they're doing a much better job now. They really are. And so I'm not in the boat of ready to dump Hutzler and just go out there and find you somebody like Dave Aranda and throw a bunch of money at him. I'm not there. JS290 is sounding like Coach Sherrill in the postgame. 4 quarters of effort is a big plus. It was a big plus. Pluses and minuses. All right. Hey, Rick. Man, Rick on Facebook says, do you have an update on Craver's injury? I don't. I was discouraged by it because, boy, he could barely walk. They took him to the locker room. He doesn't come back. Leads me to believe it must have been bad. And I hate that because, man, he can flip the field, buddy. But more importantly, Rick, I want to get up with you about that Made in America original old school Stanley thermos you have. Tell me what you want for it. JS290 said find a good welder in Tupelo, maybe at ICC, and they can weld that handle back on. I threw it away. See, I tried to epoxy it on there, and it stayed a while and eventually popped off. And then I thought, well, I'm going to get the plumber's epoxy. You know what it's called? And then I didn't, and then I threw the handle away. I just use it without the handle now. It doesn't rattle as much anyway. It doesn't make as much racket without that handle anyhow. JS290. Yeah, Shane Beamer was on Croom's staff as well. He sure was. Legba, been a while. Glad you're back. He's out here on YouTube. He said, Hail State, Matt. Caught the show yesterday when you were talking about State's defense and offensive line. He says, I couldn't agree more. He says, I can't remember our defense ever being this porous. Yeah, I can't remember it either. You know, it's just one of those situations. The only thing that they can do is, you know, inside your locker room, coaches and players on this team, you have to shut your ears, put blinders on, love each other like brothers, and play as hard as you can play. And in that, have as much fun as you can have playing together, even though it ain't going to always be fun. That's all you can do on the inside. That's what you have to do. And then outside of that, if you're the program fixer in this pay-for-play era, you got one option, and that is load the truck and find the players and haul the cash to them. There it is. And there's your option. Now, offensive line, I think they've actually gotten better. You know, again, you look at the way they ran the ball at Texas. They ran it well. Yeah, you had 3 sacks you give up against A&M. A&M's pretty good up front. But really 2 of the 3 were not physical problems. It was more or less a scheme problem where the edge who you either didn't account for and slid away from, or you tried to block with a back, was to the backside of a right-handed quarterback, which that's a mistake. So, State's offensive line is getting better. And some of that is mixing and matching and providing a little competition in there. If you want playing time, you don't just get it because we paid you to come here. Because I can't get, we got one healthy quarterback now. I can't get him killed. And David in Madison says, I always hoped I'd walk in one morning and they'd say, you're fired. Here's $12 million. Yeah, you'd be like Coach O. All right, which door you want me to walk out of? I'm gone. Oh, man, shot across back at you, Beeve. Real C said, well, Beeve, Pearl does stink. And he spelled it P-U-R-L. So that's the second trash talker we've had on the show today. First, it was Blake, Bama fan Blake, out of the top of the show, and now it's Real C with some local trash talk. Res Dog says, Matt, how can you not be ready to dump Hutzler? We are basically dead last in all of football in every defensive category. Yeah. What I think is, I think that has more to do with who than what. That's what I think. And if you're going to pay him and live through this, you might as well, it's this bad, you might as well live through some of what's going to be the good as soon as you get some players. That's what I think. Brando texts the show. Matt, missed the show today. Just tuning in. Can you play Beaver's Twinkle Toes intro? It's not Twinkle Toes, Brando. It's some of the theme music from a very funny show called Always Sunny. That's what, see? But it's not Twinkle Toes. Beav, he's just trying to get under your skin. He's now the third trash talker on the show. Res Dog. What's funny about your question, Res Dog, is that it does make you stop for a minute and think. Res Dog his question is, have we even forced a punt this year? It's historically bad. Okay, on the defensive side, it is. It is historically bad. What was the number I gave you yesterday? Scoring defense. State is 16th out of 16 teams in scoring defense. The 15th out of 16th team in scoring defense has given up, I think it's 23 points a game. State's given up 33. The gap between 15 and 16 in scoring defense from that team to State is 10 more points. State's the only team in the SEC giving up more than 30 points a ball game right now. It's bad. Airborne Dog says, I don't get the, quote, we didn't get the players ready to play, and then say, quote, we don't have the talent. So is it talent or coaching? Let's see. Yeah, we didn't have the players ready to play. Yeah, well, I mean, it's all human, right? So it is possible that coaches and players have a bad day or don't do a good job. I mean, so it's possible, right? And I think they did see, but everything, has been better. They have improved. They do play hard for 4 quarters. State is actually good on offense. They're good. They're not great. They're not bad. They're good on offense. Defensively, they are what they are. They're going to give up a ton of yards. They give up a ton of first downs, but they are creating turnovers against good teams. A couple of red zone stops here or there to force a field goal has given you a chance if you go and score points. So with kind of where you are, you got to score 40 points. If you're State, you want to win a game, you got to score 40 points. If you score 28, you lose. If you score 31, you lose. If you score 35, you lose. If you score 40, you may win. There it is. And, that's a very looking at the nose in front of your face sort of thing. And that's just the way I choose to look at it. I don't have the mental capacity or the patience, frankly, to get in conversations about next year. I just don't have it. Bryce, he's getting in here. Eat dirt, Brandon, and called him a bunch of mutts. When's that game? Is that this week? And I know we have MRA and prep this week, right? Ooh, buddy. Yeah, Rebel Tiger Dog says Jolie Dunn rolling over in his grave. He would not be happy with this, would he? Jared comments on Facebook. Says, I thought the offensive line was great because Texas A&M defensive line is stout, even though they were floppers. But you can imagine if Walter Nolan was still there. Seriously, can you imagine A&M's defensive front if Nolan was still there? Where do they stand now after this past weekend in terms of defensive stuff? Well, let me just say, I would look it up on the SEC website, but it's darn near impossible to look up anything on the SEC website quickly. Therefore, we're out of time. We'll have to do it tomorrow. For Beaver, I'm Matt. All of us here on the show in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. See you tomorrow. Same time, same place. See you then. See you.